Sure, I get paid money, and I get, buy one person's perspectives and opinions and skill sets. And that's becoming more and more challenging. The field is younger, the people are more expensive, and finding someone to work in a nonprofit arts organization is becoming harder and harder. And so I called quite a while ago, called Robert up, and we talked about what this would look like. And he started talking in a different way than I ever talked to a potential in the student. But that's kind of what we talked about today. How this relationship can work in a different kind of world. So this presentation is about me. This is absolutely for Robert, and we'll let him take it from here.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be in front of you. Some of you I met last night. Some of you I've known for almost 2 decades. You know you will. My name is Rob Rizzo, and we have a lot in common with my family. We're both sharing this beautiful venue to shed. We've been members of Zelda after the weather. Well, obviously, we all share here a
Please no more microphone coming.
We obviously all love and share a deep passion for technology. Yes, I know you think I'm a slimy tech vendor. I get it. This cheesy picture will prove that I've had this for a while, and I had a lot more hair back then. My first business was selling computers for $25 to old ladies and kids, so there's the proof. Verity's founded in 2005 to be a technology powerhouse that does not suck, where our engineering skills is only matched by how much we care for our clients. But even beyond that, we also share a deep love for the arts at the intersection of arts and technology. Very proud of my leadership in the arts. Director of Legacy Ballet. People say, "Whoa, dude, you must be a great dancer. You're at the forefront, the foremost companies in the world, dance company and leadership. You must be a great dancer." No. Quite far from it. I'll probably be fired in 5 years. I'm also a director of the Center for Arts and Innovation in Boca Raton, a venue being planned in the coming years to embody a lot of the high-tech, forward thinking that we're talking about today. And I also founded a foundation with my family. We give tech away to those who don't have it. We commission pieces of art, dance, we give technology away to other countries. And that's what kind of led to why I want it. We're going to apply to a lot of things. This is our second time. I'll make it worth a while, I promise. We're going to start with the state of the arts as we see it. We're going into some real-world case studies. As James said, we'll go into how to rethink your human capital, how to deal with MSPs, dirty word, right? And then we're just close to cloud and all that good stuff. So, state of the arts. I think we're into how, where our world is now, crisis, wars, evil, innovation that's fast paced and ever it's hard to keep up, right? People turn to arts and culture for respite. Yet, the very same thing that we turn to, arts and culture, are also being assailed. They're also in an identity crisis. Where do we fit in this world of communities? Right? This world of content can't keep up. That's why I think collaboration is more important now than ever amongst all of us. This group epitomizes that, right? The very fact that we're all here sharing best practices and all that is something we're proud of. The real battle is against, I think, synthetic versus real content. What is real? Human-made, virtual, actual. It's up for us to decide. Not true. But synthetic content, right? We can't tell who actually made it, coming out of algorithms, versus what's on the right. That's everybody in this room. Not to get your organization there, I'm sorry, but there's so many. What you see on the right is what I would think is the world-class trajectory-changing content. Right? Everybody in this room is a master at delivering novel, say everybody should be creative. Absolutely. I'm all for that. What's the barriers to entry of creative? But audiences are getting desensitized to the breakpoint, distinction between a meme, YouTube videos, and then what we produce over here. So I think there's an identity crisis that we need to solve. It's more of the audiences, and keep innovating and be more efficient. That's why I think we get to now is some ways to do. So with LA, we try to study profiles of our audiences. How do we get new ones? Let's start on the left, the ballet passionate type. Probably came from New York, ballet worker for her whole life, moved down to Miami. We're the go-to company, right? We're not going to lose enough folks. Keep her loyal, keep her happy, no problem. How about the next one? Young lady says, I don't want to go to ballet. It's for my grandma. But I will see dance, powerful, colorful, athletic performance. I'll go to that. How about this guy? Get all dressed up. Go to see a symphony. We won't do that. I mean, we'll have a beer in shorts, watch a walk past the Royal Symphony. No problem. Meet some friends. That's fine. Branding, rebranding, reinventing. We're trying to get as many people as we can into those doors. We have a stubborn audience problem. The numbers are not going back to where they were pre-COVID, let alone growing. To do that, we have to be more inventive. So, new venues, unconventional spaces, right? So far left, design district, pop-up ballet performances, right? Far right, mobile wallcast. How genius is that? The Royal Symphony brings the wallcast to the community with mobile infrastructure. In the middle is the project that Boca Raton I was referring to. That's going to be a venue that kind of embodies that year-round. Always indoor, outdoor, flex space, flip-up seating, adaptable spaces. How do we survive and thrive? Where do we get more support from? Anybody hear about the Yes to Arts, the Geobonds in Miami Beach? So the voters passed pretty easily, in fact. About $100 million of taxpayer money to fund technology and capital improvements to our arts companies in Miami Beach. It was huge. One museum's going to build a $20 million wing. Ballet, we're going to do a lot of improvements. We're going to build a dorm. There's a lot going on. These are my good friend John Shoemaker from Miami City Ballet, standing right there. Wants to springboard that to the state and federal level. Another example of us bonding together. Why should we have something like SVOG, right? I'm sure a lot of advantage of that, which is now dormant. Why can't that be a set of shuttered venues and a superior venue operators grants? That's how we can band together, keep our venues relevant, keep it refreshed, keep new currents. Corporate sponsorships. I mean, untapped. Big names, Carnival, of course, Related, JP, Truist, a lot of money because they get it. They get the arts and culture are profitable in every sense of the word. Spiritual, economically, family, you name it. Get more smaller companies, small business, medium-sized business. That's what we need. Broadening support, diversity and inclusion, meeting our boards, more colorful, younger, our audiences, across the board. Now there's some case studies. So here's an example of my friend Lourdes Lopez calls up Anna Katrina, who developed downtown Doral, says, we want to dance. We've been cooped up almost a year at that point. What can we do? They hatched a plan to perform outdoors when no one else could in the entire country. Set up basically a green field, made it into a tech powerhouse to perform, indoor venue outdoors on the fly for 3 weeks of shows sold out. So call me up and say, what can we do? Can this be done? The answer is not yeah, but heck yeah, we're going to figure it out. So, save you some, too many details, but rented an apartment up here in this building, installed fiber up for that, Wi-Fi mesh down to the park, with that long tripod, and then about 10 or so WAPs all around the park, provide public Wi-Fi access to those that don't have it, provide front of house services, back of house services, build a big stage, set up big screen audio. So half the content was produced, virtual, and a little less than a half was real. The audience reviews were that it was indistinguishable. It was, you thought the kids were real when they were on stage, but of course we couldn't with COVID restrictions. Went off great. I can talk all night about this, but it was a great endeavor. It was done again in 2021. And thankfully now we're all back in venues and no need for this again. And then on top of that, we had to build the box office that could support it. Because first you had the wave of cancellations, and all the questions that come from that, and rebookings of 2 weeks of outdoor shows, we didn't know what we were doing. So we had agents off-site, augmenting their call center. We enacted texting in addition to calling. So now I love these stream conversations. You see, I didn't even know orange shoe ballet shoe existed as an emoji. You know, you have typos, you have the LOLs. I want to show my daughter a good time. It's very fluid, friendly conversations. And that's what I think the shock and awe, better customer service. Residents that come to our venues, you know, in choosing our venues instead of staying home, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, we better make it a darn good customer service experience. Also text to give, but also SMS and domain. Who else in it? Can't say. My good friends Louis Quintero, David Phillips, Howard Herring, been inspiring to me. One of our first clients in our profit space. We were asked to help coordinate the new building, the fabulous new campus, which to this day still is at its time. There's a lot of demand that comes from a lot of traffic demands to produce all this content. And we're backbone, internet too, is going well. And then in 2016, we had the privilege of hosting a triple location simulcast between Wynwood, Miami Beach, and Havana, Cuba. And this is 2016. And the New World team pulled it up. Special events. James knows this picture very well. My good friend James Marsh called one day and said we had a Yahoo event coming with thousands of people and our Wi-Fi can't support it. It's not a normal thing to have everybody on their phones and like all day, right? This event. So it's not a tech crunch. Makes sense. So rolled in a rack full of equipment, rolled out about a dozen extra WAPs, the guys supported on site, the guys watching far away, even the zip ties, down to that level, fiber optics, zip ties, this, that, trucks, one low price. Same thing for the Trump and Biden town hall in 2020, two different events, not one event, two separate events. NBC, tons of demands. I want 20 VLANs. I want SSIDs and Secret Service, this, that, and everything. An example of on-demand infrastructure. Being able to just adapt, scale up, scale down, whatever it is. You don't have to own all this stuff. You have the talent in-house year-round. When, you know, Kamala Harris was there a couple weeks ago, right? Secret Service. So those are the rare and bad. We think a partner should be there to be able to parachute and fill those needs. Just to go outside the box of arts and nonprofits a little bit, we have to have a couple for-profit clients, once in a while. DOT. They want to surveil basically every inch of the state, every road. Most traffic lights, you may not know this, is a very obscure field of science. They have fiber optics into these big silver box, that's Albert's smiling face, wait for the crowd, oh, right, there it is. Inspecting the work of one of these boxes. Inside of that, there's all this mess for having logic to switch the traffic light safely, to be able to work independently if something were to fail, so you don't have two green lights, relate each other. But they couldn't get fiber in these areas. So what do? We built a 5G backhaul over AT&T FirstNet, not cellular, but FirstNet network. That's for first responders only. IPOS, private GRB tunnel network, all for feeding those PTZ surveillance cameras all around the state back to the command center. So I mention this because when nonprofits and arts companies call and ask us, can this be done? This is what fuels that ability. This is what fuels that out-of-the-box thinking. Perez Art Museum, Ford Museum, two great ones. I'm not doing them justice, I'm going to fly through it a little bit. Both similar in the sense that, thanks a lot to what we learned at the New World Center, what was lacking was a technology GC contractor, an overarching body that takes the flow of questions and input. Subcontractors want to build a huge facility like this, and $300 million per joint. Inevitably, what IPs do I use? What this, what that? And the IT guys at the R&D are overwhelmed. They don't know what to say. So we kind of function as the top umbrella level to direct all these little systems go in. Neutron lighting, HVAC, security, fingerprint, commitment. We did that video wall at Perez Art Museum, see over 1 million visitors. Still in use to this day. They were Franklin Sermons, Josh DeLongo, and they had no museum prior. It was an offshoot of MiamiDade.gov. Okay, so they had a museum where IT was off of their computer, the cities. Norwood's kind of opposite. They had everything built. They've been around since the 40s. So it was an expansion. So we had to delicately orchestrate a new build while the office was in operation. So the museum stayed open for office and for front of house while making it a tradition. So it's a lot of choreographic of IT to be able to keep it up and up and operating safely. This I could talk days about. Pardon me if I tear up. We ended up being asked by the Dominican government Dominican Republic to prove what we can do in solving these unsolvable activity scenarios. So we basically built an ISP from scratch in the most mountainous region of DR, where there is no connectivity for about 40 miles. There's some cell towers, which if you scan the cable on like this, right? You have 5 bars. They do a speed test, and you get 2 megs a second down. Why? Because they're backhauling many meters over. Doesn't matter in the city. There's no bandwidth to that tower. So we use Google lasers, the X project, to do space and balloons and stuff like that, to build point-to-point, basically fiber minus the fiber. It's the same optics, nothing changed. There's no glass and rubber cladding in between. So it brought 10G up to this little town, covered several schools, and then fanned down to the mayor's office, the fire department, police station. And I think I'm on one of these videos saying something to the effect of, what this technology can do is nothing to what myself is. What it can do is nothing compared to what a child can do. You ask these girls, what's your favorite YouTube channel? What? What's YouTube? Once the connectivity is there, then the magic starts. So, I'll say that little girl. Si, tú puedes hacer. Yes, you can start a business. Yes, you can become an arts leader. Yes, you can become the next Michelangelo. You can become the next boss of whatever you want to be. They don't have that, I guess, way of thinking, that same American grit that we have. Anything is possible. So bring in trajectory changing content, like I referred to. Bring in a symphony. Bring in Hamilton. It's that aha moment, inspiration. These kids don't have. This is an attempt to bridge that gap, to give them the same power they have here in New York City, Boca, wherever. All right, now we're in MSPs. Now you've seen some of the context, some of the groundwork. What is this word, MSP? What does it really mean? My partner, my subject provider, seems to be what it's name's referring to. You really should evolve a relationship to be a true business partner. Wikipedia defines it as practice outsourcing, paraphrasing. Improve operations, reduce budgetary expenditures through the reduction of directly employed staff. I don't like that notion. That's not what it's all about. How's that going to change your trajectory? How's that going to change how we're going to survive in practice? So I'm going to do a word for that, but we can talk about the time of drinks. For now, I'll go MSP, my managed service partner. This exceptions are that it has to be all or none. Right? They come in, do it their way, you back off. Everything with the plug is up to their purview. And they take control. Doesn't have to be that. Shouldn't be that. Anybody working for salt would not. Teams can coexist. People can work together. You don't have to cannibalize each other. I mean, you send folks literally to each party. Ones that they're good at, right? The best at. Diversity in skill, diversity in coverage. One company goes under, lose control, less quality, us versus them. Shouldn't be. To the contrary, do it right. It should increase your satisfaction on your people. It should free you up to do bigger, better things. Not be mired in the help desk stuff, which is important, but you can tax it, right? And ultimately, the MSP has to concede authority to you, not the other way around. So, yeah. And then the next one I see is my James eloquently alluded to is the internal staff can handle everything. Right? We can do all that. Yeah, but should they be handling it? Right? Mass resignations are not that far. It happens. It does happen. It has happened. A lot lately. You got hit by a bus, spreading your staff so thin. Have an insurance policy. If that were to happen, at least have somebody waiting in the wings who's familiar with the organization. You can pick up the slack on all the zones. And there's the confusion of how do you compare an outsourcer versus staffing agencies versus MSPs. Give you a little, unnerving. So I tend to think outsourcers or staffing agencies, headhunters, like to focus on headcount or transaction, right? I need 3 heads. Here's your 3 heads. Have a nice day. You got a problem? Maybe call me. There's not much supervision that happens day to day, let alone after. It's constant. MSP partner role should be more about mission-based. We want this SLA of service. We want to cover this discipline. All this tour tickets you guys handle, or opposite, right? Vice versa. Network tickets you guys handle. And that brings you to it's a multiplying effect that it should happen. It shouldn't be a drag or more HR issues, to put it bluntly. So top bullet point is HR issues. Still got them. Next bullet point is no HR issues. That's our problem, right? MSP's problem to deal with all this stuff. And that transitions you from a people-centric to a service-centric organization. When it's more in-house, we tend to see a lot of firefighting. Everything's fire, right? This is a way of pushing that out and becoming a proactive, high-performance service organization, which we do day in and day out. MSPs do that kind of stuff. So, I want to share some insight from the field. Some stuff that vendors don't like to talk about, don't want you to think about. Things to look for in these contracts. Auto renewal policy. Vague. If you don't cancel on the 27th hour of the 29th day, 30 days before it ends, you're in for another 5 years. Look out for that. passwords, data, whatever it is. Or do it and charge you arm and leg for it. Long terms, 48, 60 months. What about terms? Why have any terms at all? Why don't you be month to month? Day to day, hour to hour. What about a credit card? Well, I think it comes down to it's not that equally thing, it's done right. Both parties are making an investment in each other. The MSP needs to know their time horizon. You can keep them around, they just staff up accordingly. And if they're not, you fire them. Are you committing to a longer term? You're getting the lower price, seesaw effect, right? More commitments, less price, less commitment, higher price, right? Fine tune that balance. You can sign for 10 years. Why not? If they don't perform, it's a cause for termination. It's a cause for non-performance, as long as it's worded in the agreement properly. So get your lowest price, but have an escape route. So how to avoid some of these pitfalls, we kind of just touched on already. Design a solid scope, plan, set verifications. Don't miss communications creep in. Right? Set what needs to be done, and meet regularly done. Have a try and bond. You're not sure about somebody? James did it. Try and bond. You guys are good, as you say you are. Let's see. So maybe 3 months, free, or no contract, and then it balloons into a 3-year agreement or whatever. Turn off our renewals. I don't want that in there at all. Just be ready for when the expiration date comes, right? Do not call flat-footed. Oh, oops, I forgot to renew you. Meet regularly and openly. Yes, or set it up. Meet with management, meet with executives, meet with ownership, possibly. How engaged will management stay with your account over time? There's a client in this room that will remain nameless. As specifically said, if management were to change materially, we can get out. Because if the people that you know and trust are no longer there, they get gobbled up by, Godzilla, the MSP. It's a different company. You're now stuck with this company you don't like. So there's ways to build data clauses like that. So you're afraid of sale or liquidation or whatever. Keep your leverage. Keep your admin credentials, your root passwords, all that stuff. MSPs don't like to have, dual chefs in the kitchen, so to speak. Fine, keep it in a great glass. So keep it like on your desk, locked up, don't use it. But keep it. I like this one. If a breakup were to occur, plan for it. Set your disentanglement provisions up front in the contract you're about to sign. Right? If you're a marriage contract, do a prenup. Whenever you break up, you will owe us 20 hours of repatriation, skill set, transfer the VMs on a giant USB drive, all that stuff out. So there's no loops, you have to cancel and fight issues. And then finally, be mindful of information silos, right? Which goes into more about people, user habits. Texting Lewis, fix this, fix that. That's to the detriment of the team, of the user as well. There's only one man. Why not follow the official channels? That channel should be your domain, not the MSP's domain, right? Get your users trained finally off of your cell phone. Thank God. But then to your domain, right? IT@gravicenter.org, whatever it may be. Not to support at American. No. Tie your users to your domain and then forward to whatever MSP you put in there or kick down or whatever. But get the user habits and official channels established. People problems, HR problems, we all have them. I'll just say that 95% of the world's problems are miscommunication. Human or machine, either one. Fake staff, they're going. The ideal traits we look for in an engineer or support staff role, I thought that innate sense of urgency. No matter from who, only the CEO. CEO writes in, oh, they don't know it, you get lost. Anybody else? Okay. Doesn't matter the issue or who it's from. The innate desire to solve an issue. switch gears, right? From the connected, Wi-Fi, Testura, to networking, switch gears. Presence of mind. Every day is not a new day. We've done this before, right? We've solved a database issue with Testura. We've done that before. Cisco loan issue. We've done all that before. Look it up. All your past successes and triumphs. Break through walls. Fear the unknown. I want this fancy earlier, but I'll use this to talk to my staff. I say this. You look at me like, you can't solve this ticket. I'll say, you've been in the jungles of the Republic. You've solved issues before. You can solve this. 10 minutes later, it's fixed. It's that fear of the unknown. It's that hesitation. And of course, fanatical communication. Even if the ticket's going 8 hours, you talk every 2 hours. You respond to that client and say, nothing new yet, but we're still on it, we still care. How to retain that talent? Well, that's even harder than these days. We find that giving purpose to your mission, perpetually learning, being exposed to new things. 1 minute, a guy can be the greatest art center in the US, next minute you're in jungle somewhere else. That diversity, that assignment, is your big mission. Get the team invested in the mission. We encourage / require, can't say that, our staff to attend at least one of you all's events per year on their own time and dime. They won't pay $20, right, for some culture and support our clients. They have no place with us. We want to invest in the mission. And of course, as well done. Invest in education, invest in these kind of events, certifications, you got it. On to vendors and solutions. How to be objective, right? How to be vendor agnostic versus fanatical loyal. Drinking a Kool-Aid. I always say to that, if something is working and is something you believe in, is your core, believe in it. But be open-minded, because things change over time. There's a vendor that will remain nameless that drinking a Kool-Aid. Things change over time. New technology comes out. People change, they move on. So be open-minded. With that, you have to have your real-world experience and opinion to constantly assess that. Don't be afraid to integrate new things, try new things. Don't be full stack, one thing or the other. I always ask myself, does the provider, whoever's selling you something, do they do that thing day in and day out? Do they build and create things, or are they middlemen? Are they white labeling something? It's good to know as you compare. Try things out and stuff. Telecom. Ooh. 1 minute, they're fantastic, right? Based on love, painting. Now, Windstream, AT&T. How do you manage that? How do you have triple providers coming in? Do it the right way. Manage all the relationships. Live consolidation going on. 1 minute they're great, next minute they're doubled up. Do you use large or small middle providers? What do you do? Moreover, do you do it yourself? Or you lean on an agent or a broker? Like refer you in to a solution that they see at the street every day? Wholesaler, we kind of do both of those things. Wholesale is where that company is actually buying the circuit on your behalf. And you deal with them for everything, right? If you like your support that much, then why not extend that to the carrier side and not deal with the pain of Comcast, all those others. You're going to miss the cables end because it's their service, right? They're putting their name on the line for you. Cloud. I don't want to cover any vendors, but cross that one out. But there's a novel idea that I'll touch on. So cloud is not new as well. Since the days of punch cards, mainframes, essentially cloud. It's partitioning, time sharing off the bigger computer that's off site. Every 10 years or so, we humans go back and forth. Cloud's great. On-prem is great. Owning is great. As you all seen, unfortunately, shrinking budgets and coming out of, big government subsidies and holes in our budget and all that. We're getting shocked. The cloud spend, it's a little better on the nonprofit side, but on the commercial side, again, you have a $1,000 bare metal server being replaced by a $50,000 a year Azure bill. Not always the best thing to be drinking the Kool-Aid of this cloud, that cloud, on-prem, off-prem. It's what makes sense for you per application. We use some stuff for generating that. We use some stuff with GPUs and image processing. That would be probably $1 million a month in the cloud to use NVIDIA GPUs versus buying. There's always a case. It comes down to private, public, hybrid. How's the support? Do you want to be able to text the guy who's running those servers in Vegas for you? Or you want to be able to chat only support, right? We're calling a call center 1,000 light years away. Green Light, I thought I'd bring it up just because it's an interesting model, just to keep you on your toes. On-prem infrastructure in your facility that you're renting and paying like it was a cloud service. Kind of interesting. Put your Green Light stuff in your facility and they meter it and take your bill. It's a little lower than off-site spend, but there's a million ways to do it. It's hard to get rid of noise, right? I would say with everything, the line can blur, on-prem, off-prem, ownership, renting, what makes sense of the application. Keep it as vendor agnostic, containerized, portable as possible. Don't get involved with things like proprietary network stacks that public IPs, right? Finding yourself a provider unusually, getting an Azure database and SQL or supporting a VM of that database is a small example. It costs you much later on. Again, public data cloud, it's always changing, right? The model is always shifting. All right, now some cool stuff. I'm out of time. Nobody's leaving?
How's you on time? Time good?
We've seen lately in the field that bring to light. What tech discussion would be we can kind of talk on crypto and ChatGPT. So we're seeing that a lot now. Our clients are giving it out to staff, ChatGPT and GPT-4 on a corporate level, all around the company, as if we're giving out spell check and Grammarly. Pretty neat. It's like giving every employee these personal assistants, which is Albert Einstein, at their side every day. GPT version 4 is kind of cool. You compare to the left is Albert 3 versus 4 on the right. It's much more concise. When you're backing million transactions at it, and overly verbose answers on the left. That's a much more efficient answer on the right. It also missed the word new. It didn't understand the word new. So it lost the time window between these scheduling people. On the same token, RPA, robotic process automation, that's a stack multiplier, right? Taking care of database deduplication, setting up thank you letters, extracting data from this CSV file, putting it into that database, and then turning to XML and JSON. Let me do that next. We have a lot of use cases on that for the products. Development departments, big thing. One thing we all have is there's a lot of content. Digital assets. Some people I know have gargantuan storage on site, able to store all this wonderful content. Others have nothing on-prem. You need some way to store, categorize, and manipulate, work on it in the cloud. So there's a few different solutions that exist that allow you to go camera to cloud. To store data, store video in the cloud, collaborate. I'll be at, in fact, NAB in Vegas to see some of this stuff. It's a broadcast show. Crypto. It's a casino, right? But cutting all that noise out. Technology is found extremely big fan of it, play it all the time. I'm a big fan of the NFT ticketing membership site, right? I love that, ticketing via blockchain. And he says, now that you have a ticket on blockchain, you can then correlate who that wallet belongs to, and then other venues can say, I see you like this show, I see it's all public. You can now mark it on their ticket database, which is all public. I didn't think that this was like, dude, thanks for that. And then of course, NFTs. Has a CX problem, right? Got interface problem. Too complicated. There's solutions now, browsers now that have one-click mint NFT. Easy, done. So they're out there. I think that's the next wave of this stuff. What else? What else? Thanks to my good friend Hussein and Brooks Whitehoff from Cross Science. Saw one of the coolest things ever. WeFed is the top one. The tragedy in Nashville, and the shooter walked around for like 2 whole minutes before anyone got hurt. He was knocking on doors. Backfed that video into the system up top. That shooter would have been caught in the first 3 seconds of exposing his rifle. Alerted staff probably could have been forwarded to save lives. This is true AI video analytics for things like weapons, fire, drones, smoke. But the real linchpin is there's no false positives, or very little, because you turn these things on, which they're on for years. Vegas is just like, you get a lot of noise, just constant. The part where you filter it out, right? You're not sensitized to it. So this is easily turning on another security force on your existing video streams. Pretty powerful stuff. What else? Using infrastructure, cabling for more than one thing. A WAP, for example. This WAP can be IoT sensor-rich sensor that can do temperature, air quality, CO2 levels, and oh yeah, how many clients are there? So density of that area. So now this single cable feeding that device is throwing off all this actionable data that correlate with heat maps, wayfinding, a lot of good stuff like that. In closing, I'm bullish on the arts. Very bullish. All what we do here. We just got to do better and set ourselves up for the next 100 years. Like I started with, our audiences are desensitized. These digital natives are no longer sensitized to world-changing content and commoditized. We'll be here for about a week or so, right? Versus a 1,000-year-long concern. Going to be efficient, elastic, responsive. Please our customers. Take money the way they want to give it to you. Interact with them the way they want to interact with you. Be resilient by default. It's not getting caught flat-footed again. Expect that, right? Always have that resilience turned on. And have good support, right? Empower your staff to do the best they can do by using human capital. Questions will be around all night. I'm going to have a drawing for an iPad and some consulting if you want to drop a card in the fishbowl tonight. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate the time.